Hey there, friend. Have you ever stood in your kitchen, maybe pouring a cup of coffee or chopping veggies for dinner, and thought, this is my happy place? I bet you have. The kitchen's where we whip up our favorite meals, sneak a little treat, or share a laugh with family over a warm plate of something delicious. It's the heart of the home, right? But here's a question that might catch you by surprise. Did you know that same cozy kitchen could be hiding a few sneaky dangers that might chip away at your health after 70? I know it sounds a bit dramatic, but stick with me. I'm not here to scare you, I promise. I'm here to share some simple, practical tips to keep you feeling your best, so you can keep dancing around that kitchen for years to come. You see, as we get a little older, our bodies start to play by different rules. Things we didn't think twice about in our 50s can suddenly make a bigger impact. And the kitchen, well, it's like the control center for so much of our health. What we eat, how we store our food, even the way we clean up, it all adds up. So today, I want to walk you through 5 hidden dangers in your kitchen that could be shortening your life after 70. Don't worry though. This isn't about tearing apart your routine or making you feel like you're doing it all wrong. It's about small, doable changes that'll help you live longer, stronger, and happier. We're going to cover everything from sneaky toxins to habits you might not even realize are holding you back. By the end, you'll have a game plan to make your kitchen a powerhouse for health. Sound good? Let's dive in. Now, before we get to the first danger, I want to take a second to picture something with you. Imagine your kitchen right now. Maybe there's a trusty old frying pan on the stove, a fridge humming in the corner, or a stack of canned goods in the pantry. It's familiar, comforting. But even in that cozy setup, there's one thing that could be quietly working against you. And that brings us to the first hidden danger, those old, scratched-up non-stick pans you've been using for years. Oh, I know. They're like old friends. You've made countless pancakes and stir-fries in them, and they still get the job done. But here's the thing. Those scratches and chips in the coating, they're not just cosmetic. They could be letting tiny bits of harmful chemicals sneak into your food. You've probably heard about non-stick coatings like Teflon. Back in the day, they were a game changer. No more eggs glued to the pan. But many of those older pans, especially ones made before 2013, might contain something called PFOA. It's a chemical that's been linked to some pretty serious health concerns, like thyroid issues, high cholesterol, and even certain cancers. Now, I'm not saying your favorite skillet is out to get you, but when that non-stick coating starts flaking off, it's not just staying in the pan. Those little bits can end up in your scrambled eggs or your grandkids' grilled cheese sandwich. And over time, that exposure adds up, especially when you're cooking every day. I remember visiting my Aunt Clara a while back. She's 78 and still makes the best lasagna in town. I noticed her old non-stick pan was so scratched it looked like it had been through a war zone. I gently mentioned it, and she laughed, saying, "Oh, this thing's been with me since the Reagan administration." We had a good chuckle, but then I showed her a few articles about how those old pans might not be as safe as they seem. She was surprised but open to making a switch. And you know what? She found a new ceramic-coated pan that works just as well, and now she's cooking with peace of mind. So what can you do about this? First, take a quick look at your cookware. If you've got non-stick pans that are scratched, chipped, or just plain ancient, it might be time to say goodbye. You don't have to break the bank. There are plenty of affordable, safer options out there now, like ceramic or cast iron. Cast iron's my personal favorite. It's like the wise old grandma of cookware. Tough, reliable, and gets better with age. Plus, it adds a tiny bit of iron to your food, which can be a nice bonus for your health. When you're shopping, look for pans labeled PFOA-free or PFAS-free to make sure you're steering clear of those risky chemicals. And here's a pro tip. Treat your new pans with care. Use wooden or silicone utensils instead of metal, and avoid cranking the heat to super high. That'll keep them in tip-top shape for years. Now, I know change can feel like a hassle, especially when you're used to your trusty kitchen setup. But think of it like this. Swapping out an old pan is a small move that could protect your energy, your vitality, and those precious years ahead. You're not just cooking, you're cooking smarter. And who doesn't want to feel a little more confident flipping those pancakes? Speaking of feeling confident, let's move on to another sneaky danger that might be hiding in plain sight. The way you're storing your leftovers. I bet you've got a drawer full of plastic containers, right? Maybe some are from that takeout place you love, or those margarine tubs you've been reusing since forever. I'm guilty of it too. Those containers are just so handy. But here's where things get a little tricky. Some of those plastics, especially the older ones, can leach chemicals into your food, and that's not something you want to mess with as you get older. Let me paint a picture. You've just made a big batch of your famous chili, and you're scooping it into a plastic container to pop in the fridge. Maybe you even reheat it in that same container later. Sounds harmless, right? But if that container is made of the wrong kind of plastic, like the ones with BPA or phthalates, it could be releasing tiny amounts of chemicals into your food, especially when it's hot. These chemicals can act like little troublemakers in your body, messing with things like your hormones, your blood pressure, and even your heart health. And after 70, your body's already working hard to keep everything in balance. You don't need extra challenges sneaking in through last night's dinner. I learned this the hard way a few years ago. I was reheating some soup in an old plastic container, and my daughter-in-law, who's a bit of a health nut, gave me this look. She said, "You know that's probably not the safest way to do that, right?" I brushed it off at first. After all, I'd been doing it for years. But then she showed me how some plastics can break down over time, especially when they're scratched or heated. It got me thinking about all those little habits we don't question. So I started switching to glass containers, and let me tell you, it's been a game changer. They're sturdy, they don't hold on to smells like plastic does, and I feel better knowing my food's safe. Here's what you can do to tackle this one. First, check your plastic containers. Look for recycling symbols on the bottom. Numbers 3, 6, and 7 are often the ones to watch out for, as they might contain BPA or other risky chemicals. If your containers are scratched, stained, or don't have any labels, it's probably best to replace them. Glass or stainless steel containers are fantastic alternatives. They're a little pricier up front, but they last forever, and you can find good deals at places like thrift stores or discount retailers. When you're storing or reheating food, cover it with a plate or a reusable silicone lid instead of plastic wrap. And if you're still using that old microwave with the peeling interior, it might be time for an upgrade too, to keep those leftovers as healthy as they are tasty. The best part about this change, it's not just about avoiding harm, it's about feeling empowered. Every time you pop your leftovers into a glass container, you're making a choice to protect your health. It's like giving yourself a little high five for taking care of you. And trust me, those small victories add up to big wins over time. So we were just talking about that spice rack of yours, weren't we? I can picture it now. Maybe it's a little carousel on your counter, or a shelf stuffed with jars you've had since who knows when. Spices are like the magic wands of the kitchen, right? A pinch of this, a dash of that, and suddenly your chicken tastes like it came straight from a five-star restaurant. But here's something that might make you pause mid-shake. Some of those spices could be working against you, especially if they've been sitting around for years. That's the third hidden danger in your kitchen. Expired or stale spices that might be doing more than just making your food taste flat. Now I know what you're thinking. Expired spices? They don't go bad like milk does. And you're not entirely wrong. Spices don't spoil in the way that sends you running for the trash can, but they do lose their punch over time. And that's not just a flavor problem, it's a health one too. When spices sit around too long, they can become a cozy home for mold, bacteria, or even tiny pantry pests. And if you're sprinkling those into your soup or rubbing them onto your roast, you might be adding more than flavor to your meal. Plus, old spices lose their antioxidants. You know, those little helpers that fight inflammation and keep your body feeling spry. After 70, you want all the antioxidants you can get to keep your energy up and your joints happy. I had a wake-up call about this a couple of years ago. I was making my mom's famous meatloaf recipe for a family dinner, and I reached for the paprika. The jar looked like it had been through a few presidents, so I checked the date. Yep, expired 5 years ago. I laughed it off and used it anyway, but later I noticed the meatloaf didn't have that zing I remembered. I started digging into why, and I learned that stale spices don't just disappoint your taste buds. They can sometimes carry low levels of toxins from mold, especially if they've been stored in a warm, humid kitchen. That got me thinking about how many other jars in my rack were past their prime. Here's an easy way to tackle this one. Take a quick inventory of your spice collection. Give each jar a sniff. If it smells weak or dusty, it's probably time to let it go. Check the expiration dates too, but as a rule of thumb, ground spices start losing their mojo after about 1 to 3 years, and whole spices like cloves or cinnamon sticks can last a bit longer, maybe 3 to 4. If you've got jars with no dates, ask yourself, was I using this when my kids were still in high school? If the answer's yes, it's probably time for a refresh. Don't feel bad about tossing them. Think of it as clearing space for flavors that'll make your meal sing again. When you're ready to restock, buy spices in small amounts so they stay fresh. Places like bulk food stores let you scoop just what you need, which saves money and keeps your rack from turning into a spice museum. Store them in a cool, dry spot away from the stove. Heat and humidity are the enemies of flavor. And here's a fun tip. Try toasting whole spices before grinding them. It's like waking them up, and it makes your kitchen smell amazing. I started doing this with cumin seeds, and now I feel like a chef every time I cook. Switching out those old spices isn't just about avoiding risks. It's about rediscovering the joy of cooking. Imagine sprinkling fresh oregano into your pasta sauce and tasting that burst of flavor. It's a small change that makes every bite feel like a treat, and it's doing your body a favor too. You deserve that, don't you? Now let's keep this kitchen makeover going with another danger that's probably hiding in your fridge or pantry right now. This one's a biggie, and it's something we all fall for because it's so convenient. I'm talking about processed foods, those ready-to-eat meals, canned soups or snack packs that seem like lifesavers when you're short on time. They're everywhere, and they're designed to tempt you with their quick prep and long shelf life. But here's the catch. Those foods could be packing a punch that's not so friendly to your health after 70. Let's be real, nobody's saying you have to cook every meal from scratch. Life's busy, and sometimes you just want to pop something in the microwave and call it a day. I get it, but those processed foods are often loaded with things your body doesn't need, like sky-high sodium, unhealthy fats, and sneaky sugars. Too much sodium can creep up on your blood pressure, which is already something to watch as we age. Those trans fats, they're no friend to your heart. And the sugars, they can mess with your energy levels, leaving you feeling sluggish instead of ready to tackle your day. Over time, relying on these foods can increase your risk for things like heart disease, diabetes, and even weight gain that makes your joints ache. I saw this firsthand with my neighbor Frank, who's 74 and loves his TV dinners. He'd eat them most nights, quick, easy, no cleanup. But he started noticing he was more tired than usual, and his doctor flagged his blood pressure climbing. Frank wasn't big on cooking, so I suggested we try a little experiment. We swapped out a couple of his processed meals for simple homemade versions. Nothing fancy, just a baked chicken breast with some veggies one night and a quick lentil soup another. He was amazed at how much better he felt, and his doctor was thrilled at his next checkup. Frank still keeps a few frozen meals for emergencies, but now he's got a handful of go-to recipes that don't take much effort. So how can you dodge this danger without turning your kitchen into a full-time job? Start small. Take a peek at the labels on your canned soups, frozen dinners, or snack foods. If sodium's in the thousands of milligrams or sugar's one of the top ingredients, it's a sign to swap it out. Look for low-sodium versions of things like broth or canned beans. They're just as convenient, but kinder to your body. Better yet, try batch cooking a big pot of soup or a casserole on the weekend. Pop portions in the fridge or freezer, and you've got homemade meals ready to go. If you're not big on cooking, focus on fresh or minimally processed options, like a rotisserie chicken with a side of steamed veggies, or a salad with some nuts and fruit for crunch. Here's a little trick I love. Keep a stash of healthy grab-and-go snacks to replace those processed chips or cookies. Things like unsalted nuts, fresh fruit, or even a small piece of dark chocolate can satisfy your cravings without the health hit. It's like giving yourself permission to snack smarter. And don't forget to drink plenty of water. Sometimes we reach for processed stuff because we're dehydrated, not hungry. Keeping a water bottle handy can cut those urges off at the pass. Making these changes doesn't mean giving up convenience. It means redefining it. You're trading in foods that drag you down for ones that lift you up. And let me tell you, there's nothing better than feeling light on your feet because you've fueled your body right. It's like your kitchen saying, I've got your back. All right, we've been having a great chat about keeping your kitchen a place that lifts you up, haven't we? We were just about to dive into that last hidden danger, and it's one that's so easy to overlook because it's part of your everyday routine. You might even be using it right now if you're washing dishes while listening to me. I'm talking about that trusty sponge or dishcloth sitting by your sink. It's always there, ready to scrub pots or wipe down counters like the unsung hero of your kitchen. But here's the fifth hidden danger. Those sponges and dishcloths can turn into little germ factories if you're not careful. And that's something your health doesn't need, especially after 70. Think about it for a second. That sponge gets used for everything. Scraping off stuck-on lasagna, cleaning the cutting board after slicing chicken, maybe even wiping up a spill on the counter. It's soaking up all kinds of stuff, and if it's staying damp in that cozy sink corner, it's like a five-star resort for bacteria. Things like E. coli, salmonella, or even mold can set up shop in there. And every time you use that sponge, you might be spreading those germs around your kitchen. Now, your immune system's still a champ, but as we age, it doesn't bounce back quite as fast. A little tummy bug that might have been no big deal in your 50s could hit harder now, leaving you feeling wiped out or worse. I had a moment that made this click for me. Last summer, I was helping my friend Betty clean up after a big family barbecue. She grabbed her sponge to wipe down the plates, and I noticed it had this funky smell, like it was holding on to every meal it had ever met. I teased her, saying, "Betty, this sponge is old enough to vote." We laughed, but then I suggested we run it through the dishwasher to freshen it up. Later, I looked into it and found out that sponges can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat if you're not cleaning or replacing them regularly. That was a wake-up call. Betty and I both made a pact to swap out our sponges more often, and it's made a difference in how clean our kitchens feel. So, how do you keep this danger in check? It's easier than you might think. First, give your sponge or dishcloth a good rinse after every use and squeeze it out so it's not sitting there soggy. You can sanitize it by tossing it in the dishwasher with your next load or microwaving it for a minute while it's damp. Just make sure it's free of any metal scrubbers first. Dishcloths can go in the laundry with hot water, but here's the key. Don't let them overstay their welcome. Swap out sponges every couple of weeks or sooner if they start looking rough or smelling off. Dishcloths can last longer if you're washing them regularly, but if they're stained or fraying, it's time for new ones. You can find affordable packs at most stores, so it won't hurt your wallet. If you want to take it a step further, consider switching to something like silicone scrubbers. They're non-porous, so germs don't stick around as easily, and they last forever. I got one as a gift last year, and I was skeptical at first, thought it wouldn't scrub as well as my old sponge. But it's a game changer, and it dries out fast, which means no more funky smells. Whatever you choose, the goal is to keep your kitchen surfaces as clean as your cooking deserves. It's like giving your dishes a fresh start every time you wash them. Now let's take a moment to think about everything we've covered. We started with those scratched up non-stick pans that might be sneaking chemicals into your meals. And we talked about how switching to safer options like ceramic or cast iron can make a big difference. Then we looked at plastic containers and how choosing glass or stainless steel keeps your leftovers free of unwanted extras. We dug into your spice rack, swapping out stale jars for fresh flavors that boost your health instead of dragging it down. And we tackled those processed foods, trading them for simple, wholesome choices that give you energy instead of taking it away. Now, with cleaner sponges or scrubbers, your kitchen's not just a place to cook, it's a place that's got your back, helping you feel strong and vibrant. What I love about all these changes is how doable they are. You don't have to overhaul your whole life or spend a fortune. It's about noticing the little things and making small tweaks that add up to big wins. Maybe you replace one old pan this month, or toss out that ancient jar of cumin that's been lurking in the back of the cupboard. Each step is like a gift to yourself, a way to say, I'm worth it, and I want to keep enjoying this life for as long as I can. And trust me, when you start feeling the difference, more energy, fewer aches, maybe even a spring in your step, it's hard not to smile. I want you to picture yourself in that kitchen a few weeks from now. You're cooking up something delicious with a shiny new pan, storing leftovers in a glass container, seasoning with fresh spices that make your taste buds dance. Your sponge is clean, your counters are sparkling, and you're reaching for a snack that's as good for you as it tastes. That's not just a kitchen, it's a place where you're building a healthier, happier you. And it's not about being perfect. It's about making choices that feel right for you, one day at a time. Before I wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever swapped out an old kitchen habit and noticed a difference? Maybe you tried a new spice or ditched a worn-out sponge. What was it like? Drop a comment below and share your story. It's amazing how much we can learn from each other, and I'm betting someone out there could use your tip to brighten their day. Oh, and if you found this helpful, give the video a thumbs up. It really helps us reach more folks who might need a little kitchen TLC. And if you want more ideas like this, hit that subscribe button. I'm always sharing ways to make life a bit easier and a lot more fun, no matter your age. Here's the thing. You're not just cooking meals in that kitchen. You're cooking up memories, moments, and a life you love. So keep it safe, keep it simple, and keep it yours. Here's to thriving, laughing, and maybe even sneaking an extra cookie now and then, because you've earned it. Until next time, take care, and let's keep making every day a good one.